I'm delighted to be with Megan Shearing, Communications Strategist in the studio. Hello, Megan.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for joining us. So look, we're going to talk about compelling copy for the web, and I think you've got some tips to share for us.
I have.
Come on, how do we do it? What's tip number one?
Well, look, the key thing really for compelling content is that it's got to drive action. On the web today, because there's so much content, people have so much choice. So your content needs to really be compelling to drive change in people's mindsets and change their behaviour. So there's three key ways.
So not just changing in terms of how they behave on your website, but it needs to be copy that really kind of says something. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. If you're looking to persuade people to think, feel, or do something differently, then the key is to make it really compelling.
Yeah, okay. So how do we do it?
So three key elements to that. First of all, it's got to be really concise. So web copy is typically written in a much more succinct way than printed prose.
Yes.
Secondly, it's got to be easy to scan, because we know that when we're on the web, we're not actually reading things word for word, we're actually scanning. And third of all, it's got to be meaningful. It's actually got to have considerable relevance to your audience.
So this, I mean, making it concise is for, I mean, a lot of people, and I guess particularly in the kind of the small end of town, write their own copy, don't they?
Correct.
They do their own stuff. And it's well known that it's a bit of a challenge to write well about yourself or about your company. Kind of how do you do that when you've got, you know, maybe 200 or 300 words and you want to get it down to 30 or 40 or 50 words? Any kind of easy ways that we can do that?
There are. One thing to bear in mind is that when people are reading online, it takes them 25% longer than if they were reading the same copy in a printed document.
Oh, that's interesting.
So tip number one is really make it 50% shorter.
Yeah, okay. So just start hacking things. You've just got to really be quite ruthless, haven't you, in your copy, I think?
Yes, I think it's partly about that, but I would actually approach it from structuring it differently from the outset, as opposed to taking something that you currently have and sort of hacking here and there. So I would start with a short summary at the top of every web page. And what that does is it gives the user a general gist of what they'll find on that page without having to search around or spend lots of time and energy trying to figure out, am I in the right place? Is this going to give me what I need?
So that's like a paragraph at the top that literally just says, right, this is what's going on this page.
This is what you'll find here. It's usually 1 to 3 sentences in length. It should include your top keywords for content. It should make sense alone. So if the user reads only that copy on the page, it's got to make sense by itself. And it needs to make sense as the first copy that they read on a page.
All right, so just to have a look at your 3 tips again, you mentioned them. Can I put you on the spot and ask you to repeat them?
Concise copy.
Concise copy.
Scannable copy. And meaningful copy.
Yeah, okay. So the scannable, again, is something that people can just flash their eyes across and they get the key points.
Exactly.
That's it. Okay.
And there's a couple of key ways to ensure that your copy is scannable when you structure it. And the first place I would suggest a lot of people start is with breaking copy down into chunks. And there's a few different ways you can do this. You can, for example, look at carving your copy up by themes. So looking at meaningful, smaller pieces of information. You know, what's my topic? What are some of the subtopics that fall out of that? So say, for example, you know, your overall topic might be how to run a marathon. And then your subtopics are, you know, a training program, what to eat on the day, where to buy the gear you need. And those separate subtopics live on separate pages.
So which you can link through to very
Absolutely,
easily.
A way of breaking that down. You can also carve up your copy by task, by sequence, or by frequently asked questions. So this can be particularly helpful for those people who may be adapting print information for their web. So you might have your marketing brochure and be using that as a basis for creating some of your web copy. And what we know is that often when people come to your site, they may come with a certain task that they want to achieve while they're there. So breaking your information up around in a task-related way can really help them identify that information. So again, you know, if you're, you know, you might have one page on how to buy a house,
Yep.
how to refinance, how to invest, and separating that out.
Yeah, okay. Fantastic. Look, I know we're going to come on and talk more in a second segment more about sort of engagement. So for now, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to
Pleasure.
find out more about you, megansheeran.com.au.
Correct.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you, Robert.